Hello friends! Today we're going to talk about self-love. For that I made you some tea, we have some candlelight, and I'm going to read you a little story. This is our honorary guest. By the way, everybody say hello to Lucifer, aka Poopy for friends. You can call him Poopy, we're friends. He's so floppy. Let's have him listen. Me, my younger and my older self, mother, maiden, and crone, all meet at the same place, as we always do. Home. A wooden porch overlooks the fields, the tall stillness of the mountain keeps us steady, and the scent of the forest surrounds us. Hot pine needles in the summer, frosted spiderweb ornaments in the winter, candlelight and fog tea. The crone has asked us here, a quiet, ancient mythological call, a rumbling chant. She smells of incense and sleep. I look at her with only reverence and peace, while our younger self is intimidated by her. We can tell. She still pulls at the skin next to her nails, eyes shifting. She's handed a cup of tea. Something gentler to do with her hands. The crone sits down with ease even in her old age, and asks us to get comfortable. Her fingers weaving our experiences, knitting our chainmail, readying us for the battles yet to come, until we learn we never needed protection in the first place. Until we come into our inherent safety. She opens my mouth, and when I speak, she speaks through me. I remember this has happened once before. I've seen this before. The old one speaking through the older one. Now I am her, and her, and her. Alright, let's let the camera get used to this beauty. So, as I said, today we're going to be talking about self-love, and today I woke up and I let myself cry. In German, there's an idiom for somebody who cries easily. It's called nah am Wasser gebaut, which can literally be translated as built close to the water. And now, I have always been the type to have my go-to outlet for emotions be crying, grieving, mad, ecstatic tears, any emotion. I feel depth in everything, and I need to hydrate lots in order to prime and lubricate my tear ducts. Lubricate. For whatever next thing is going to have me turning in the undertow of the human experience. While the salt and the sea are my friends now, I have not always been this accepting of my nature. As many of us, I too grew up hearing things like crying is weak or stop crying. And so with the tears, I learned my shame. A dam was forced onto my river, the meandering dips of my mood straightened out, and my connection to my truest self walled off. And self-love, I believe, is about trusting that when you fully submerge yourself in the waters, you will come up for air with ease. I am feeling the need to address the list-ification, so to speak, of self-love and self-care. Self-love is a lifelong mountain to climb. To some of us, the peak isn't even visible. To some of us, maybe we don't even really believe that it's there. Maybe it's just a mystical maybe. We've heard of it in legends and tales. But still, eventually, always eventually, all of us will embark on this journey. And in doing so, we may feel inclined to refer to lists. The landmarks, the hiking gear, the provisions. We see it in our advertisement, we see it in social media, we see it in people like me who give you a 10-step list on how to become your best self and how to love yourself better. This is what you need to buy, this is what you're going to look like, and this is how you're going to feel. And it can all be great, but it can also be overwhelming and a bit misleading. I'm happy that self-love is being talked about more than ever, don't get me wrong. But I think we need to remember, or at least I noticed I need to remember, that self-love is not about the consumption or the list we need to check off. Sounds self-explanatory, but for me it was something that I actually had to think about for a second there. With awareness comes consumption in this day and age. Consumption era. Capitalism core. Don't make me say consumption maxing. I will unalive myself. Fucking all warm and red. I'm cringe, but I'm free. I think you can tell by how I talk and how I act. I am a product of my time, and I am wanting to distance myself a little there. I can't help but get the impression that we are once again lured into trying to find salvation in gods outside of ourselves by tying our well-being to a sense of productivity instead of looking at what self-love really means and asks of us. Self-love isn't in the bath you take, it isn't in the solo date night out, it isn't in the flowers or the cute little earrings you buy for yourself, not by default anyway. Like any anything, all of these activities and things you can buy and get, they're all means to get to know yourself better, to see what you like, to make you feel pampered and taken care of and appreciated. All things that you inherently deserve to experience. It's not something you should have to buy. It's not something that should be hidden behind a paywall. And it also definitely shouldn't be something that you have to check off, or just another should that you should be doing. To make sure we are on the same page, I am not demonizing lists. I think lists are great. When I'm not at my best, I still fall back on lists just to lean into what feels good and lean away from what doesn't feel good. Any means aren't evil. You can think of these things like maps. I still fall back on this map instead of relying on my still very underdeveloped inner compass, my intuition sometimes. Spend enough time hearing that you don't know what's good for yourself, that you don't know yourself, that I know you best, hearing that from other people, be it your friends or your family, and you will believe it. But thankfully, we have the chance anytime to change that. We get the choice to change who we are, how we act, how we show up in the world, and we do so with awareness. Self-love is about intention. It is a way of being. Self-love is a way of treating ourselves in any given situation we might find ourselves in. It is, for lack of a better word, the energy we put into it. Self-love is awareness. Whereas in the past, I would beat myself up for having big emotional reactions to things, I decided to view any and all peaks and valleys of my moods as my teachers. Curiosity over judgment. What is this emotion trying to teach me? What unmet need is it trying to communicate to me? Earlier, if you remember, I mentioned shame. And shame, like guilt and embarrassment, is something psychologists call secondary emotions, which is an emotion more so shaped by our thoughts and stories and beliefs about it than the actual core emotion, the immediate reaction. You can think of primary emotions as the compass needle trying to point to a specific thing, whereas the secondary emotions more so cover up the primary emotions, like anger, fear, trust, joy, sadness, making the needle spin frantically so you don't even really know what's real anymore, and you're really just projecting the past onto the future, and it's a big mess, and your present is really unpleasant. That rhymed. And these secondary emotions, shame, guilt, embarrassment, are usually the ones that keep lingering and causing us to suffer. If we do not allow the primary emotions to really be felt, for our authentic selves to really take up space and be noticed and validated. Our emotions are invitations to be here now, to sit with them, to give them the room to simply exist, to observe them, and then to let them go. So much of self-love, I think, is in truly letting us show up in any way that we are naturally showing up right now, in our light, in our dark. Judging ourselves for the way that we are feeling separates us from our true selves. And yes, that's to me and all the overthinkers out there, yes, judging yourself for judging yourself does the same thing. This self-judgment, it feeds disconnectedness, it feeds loneliness, and I really do believe that the people who are most disconnected from themselves, who are not with themselves and always have their brain be somewhere else, be in a different time, be worrying about how they are being perceived or worry about other people who are not with themselves, who are not connected to themselves, who are rejecting of themselves, are most of the time the most lonely people here. At least for me, that was the case. And where I'm at right now is at a really fascinating turning point. In the recent weeks, I've noticed myself getting more and more frustrated and tired at how often I have to catch myself. You know, when you notice that your mind goes back to the well-trodden path that you're trying to steer away from lovingly, the path of self-neglect and self-hatred or whatever it is for you. But my darling, awareness, what a gift! I'm so grateful. What a gift it is to notice when I am diverging. How beautiful it is that I can now see that and correct it. How amazing, what a blessing it is that I can see that and do it differently, that I know how to do it differently. What a blessing it is to be able to choose gentleness and love over the old ways, to now put myself back on the faithful forest floor where there is now soft indents of the path that I have yet to walk more, where there's foxes and birds and bunnies and all the mythological, mystical creatures, and they guide me. And I'm learning from the wild ones, and I'm coming back to myself with every step. Self-love is in the big mundane gestures. Now, I am a big romantic. I would be lying if I said that I did not like big romantic gestures. They are bursts of magic in our lives. They allow the people that they are directed at to fully be seen. They feel wholly witnessed. They allow themselves to fully reside in the moment, to be here now. And the sheer greatness of these gestures is what facilitates this so easily. They become distinct points in our timeline that we can look back to amongst the fluid melting together of our mundane lives. But that's just the thing, isn't it? Most of our days are mundane. Most of our days are not special. They are not monumental. I believe our lives would be a lot more fulfilled if we didn't rely on the eventuality of these big gestures to fill them. Love isn't only in the big shows, but, and most importantly, in the tiny little everyday decisions to add love into your life, to allow it to fill every fiber of your being. Love and self-love is the choice to be present and to find magic in the simplest things. For example, and here is the list/not list, how do you treat yourself when you wake up? For years, because of the sphere of YouTube that I'm in and that I'm personally also interested in, I've always heard of these people doing their morning routines, and this and this and this is what you should be doing to have a mindful start to your morning. And I don't think I really understood what this mindful start to one's morning means, or meant, I guess, until I was like last week years old. Even before we adjust to our opened eyes, our brains are already kicking into gear. The amount of times that I got bombarded immediately with my to-do list, with that awkward thing that happened yesterday, with, oh, I'm such an awful person for making that person feel bad the other day, or I have no idea how I'm going to be paying these bills. You can already tell from my body language, like it's... It's making me scrunch up. It's scary. It's a lot of weight literally on my shoulders, and I haven't even stretched them out yet. I haven't even left the bed. And I am now choosing to set myself up for greatness every single morning. I've spent enough time and enough years beating myself up with my limiting beliefs, and I thought if I can gaslight myself into being small and sad, then I can also gaslight myself into being confident and beautiful and great and everything I want to be. My little tip here is that I've been listening to those affirmation videos in the morning. I was really turned off from them in the past because I think I was still too much in my depressive state, just enjoying the agony way too much to even consider having these positive things about myself reverberating in my brain. It would just make me uncomfortable. I understand if you are maybe in that place where you're just like, I don't know, man, it just feels so fake and it doesn't sound like me. I wouldn't say these things about myself, but you know, maybe you should. And maybe you should listen to a lady screaming into your ear every morning, today is a good day. Today's going to be a good day. And listen, for me, it's worked. It's nothing life-changing unless you make it life-changing. If you're like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this and I'm gonna believe it, and throughout the day, when things go my way, I'm gonna go, oh my god, I am the luckiest person in the world. Or, oh see, I told you, this is easy. It's easy for me to show up every day and trust myself. I think it is about time we brainwashed ourselves into being our best selves. And this small gesture of self-love is helping me do just that. My little insider tip here would be the Good Morning Rampage by Abraham Hicks. It's pretty good. I like it. How do you treat your day-to-day care? What is, for example, cooking for yourself like? Are you actually enjoying the process of it? Do you feel the cutting board? Are you smelling and tasting and feeling the ingredients? It's a very sensory thing, and I really think at this point, because I am so good at rationalizing things and trying to make it make sense, at some point we really need to get out of our brains. Our brains, they're working. Like either they're working well or they're not working well, but either way they're working. Let's let it rest by getting into our bodies. Feel the cucumber. Maybe that's a weird example. Let's not feel the whatever you're into. Feel the cucumber if you want to. Ah! Serious. I'm giving serious advice. This is important. Yes, sensory experiences. How is cooking for you? Do you see it as something like, oh, I'm taking care of myself. I get to nourish my body. I get to make something that I can taste that is so complex, and I'm so grateful for all all of these plants that have made it onto my plate. When you do these things, taking a shower, cooking for yourself, whatever it is, can you be with yourself in stillness, or are you noticing that your brain is either so loud or so scary that you cannot be with yourself without a distraction? And if you're noticing that you're not enjoying these day-to-day things, then I would try and put more awareness into them. Really enjoy the sensory aspect of it. Or if you're too far away from enjoying it, maybe just deliberately start looking at something in a way that you haven't looked at it before. Just really look at the details of, I'm looking at a bottle right now, like the very thin ridges of the metal. It's things we take for granted that we just look at. And I believe if we go into our body, our brains kind of get quiet by default. It's good. I like it. I hope you do too. Tell me in the comments.
Like and subscribe.
See, you even get a little ditty from me sometimes. Another thing that I'm in the process of healing is my relationship to money. If we're talking about consumerism, how does it feel when you spend money on yourself? Is it something that you really enjoy because you notice that, ooh, I'm getting to take care of myself, I'm getting to pamper myself? Or does it feel scary? Does it feel like a big risk? Are these experiences really laden with guilt and shame again? And then in that case, we could then again look, okay, what is behind regret and the shame? If you're already noticing that you trust that you can take care of yourself, that all the abundance that you're desiring is already on your way to you or is already yours, and that you see the act of spending money on yourself as an investment into yourself, then you're pretty good. You're doing a good job. You did it. Oh my god, I have to show you that. A friend gave that to me recently. Look at it. Can you see it? I hope the camera's actually focusing. I'm doing the makeup artist thing of the hand behind it. Does it work? Look at it. You did it! First of all, you did it to the end of the video. And also, hopefully, to the place within yourself that you can feel more at home in, which is something that I made a video about a few weeks ago, if you'd like to check that out. And I think when we zoom into our lives, there's so much we can focus on, so much love we can imbue every single moment with. And I really hope that there's something you can pick from this video that I've talked about that you can give yourself a little star for. However misshapen, I hope you feel the love. Thank you, and see you next time.